Today we'll be looking at the 1/100 scale Deluxe Zeta Gundam from the anime series Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, or Mobile Suit Double Zeta Gundam if you want to go there. This mobile suit is piloted by the dweeby Camille, the not so dweeby Judo, or however you say his name, and Rue. As you can see here, we have the mobile suit in Wave Rider mode right now, and it looks fairly close to how it looks in the anime, albeit a bit chunkier. Besides that, I'd say it's a fairly faithful representation of the Wave Rider from the anime. Mine is probably just the Wave Rider wings, but that's something not even the Masquerade 2.0 could do 100% correctly without doing some sort of painting. So I'd say they did a pretty good job for this 80s toy right here. Plus, considering the fact that this is actually an 80s toy, this thing hardly has any paint on it, which is kind of impressive in my opinion. So, as for why I don't have the beam rifle on top of the Wave Rider like it always is in the anime, well, that's because there's nowhere to actually put the beam rifle on top of the Wave Rider. Well, at least in the middle of it, of course. From the Japanese videos I've seen of this figure on YouTube, I noticed that they always put the beam rifle into one of the hands on the back of the Wave Rider. I guess, considering the fact that the hands are visible from the back, that will count as visible hand syndrome. But this is a mobile suit, not a robot in disguise, so I'll let it slide. Plus, it seems like everybody in the Grips conflict knew what the Zeta Gundam was, so yeah. Here it is next to the previous figure I reviewed, the VF1S. And I always thought that this seemed kind of like Gundam's answer to that particular figure because both of them used the phrase perfect transformation on their box. And like the VF1S, the Zeta itself is also rather impressive in terms of its engineering. Now it's time to transform this thing into its mobile suit mode. Surprisingly, the transformation for this Zeta Gundam figure is actually rather comfortable, and that's something you'd never say about a Zeta Gundam these days, since it's notorious for having a rather complex transformation. As you can see there's that damn leg transformation that all transforming mobile suits seem to love so much. Yet despite that, it's not a royal pain to transform the legs, unlike how it is on certain model kits. And the rest of the transformation is fairly similar to how it looks in the anime, besides the fact that it strangely doesn't have the V-fin separating. Instead you get this rubbery V-fin, which, well, I mean, at least it doesn't feel like it's going to break on you, but it does feel kind of flimsy, but, you know, at least it works. And here it is in mobile suit mode. Considering the fact that this is a fully transformable figure from 1985, this thing it looks really impressive. And yes, it looks chunky, but hey, I didn't get on to the VF1S for looking too chunky, and that thing literally has the nickname of the Chunky Monkey, so I'm not going to get onto this thing either. As for the accessories, despite the Zeta Gundam having a pretty wide arsenal, this figure only comes with a beam rifle and a shield. So no Hyper Mega Launcher, no grenades, no beam sabers, even though one's featured on a box that's miscolored. And you know what? Let's talk about that. What is up with Bandai giving the wrong beam saber colors to mobile suits that clearly had different colors in anime? Even the God Gundam's guilty of this, both the old Deluxe toy and the Masquerade from 2001. Like, seriously, what's going on? Now for the articulation of this figure. The head can't really turn due to its odd head shape, but to be fair, that's actually a problem with some modern Zetas to this day just because of the weird head shape hindering neck movement. The arms do a full 360, and they can also go all the way outward by like 90 degrees, I believe. I don't know my math. And they can also swivel at the elbow. And they can also swivel at the wrist too, which I don't think I showed off in this video. Also, they surprisingly have a really good bend at around 180 degrees, if I'm math correct. I'm sorry if I get these numbers wrong. The legs also have some surprisingly decent articulation. The leg can go all the way forward, but barely backward due to the wings in the back. And there's also a 90-degree bend at the knee, and there's some foot articulation. You can also spread the hips, but I think that's more so due to the transformation. And unfortunately, this thing does like doing splits a lot, just because they come loose over time. So due to the head, This thing's not nearly as posable as the Valkyrie was, but the rest of its articulation is still really impressive. In many ways better than the Valkyrie's articulation. Now let's do some size comparisons. Once again, here it is next to the VF1S Valkyrie, like in my previous review. The 2008 reissue of G1 Optimus Prime. The high grade of the original Gundam Revived. The Master Grade 2.0 of the original Gundam. Its quote-unquote modern counterpart, the Master Grade Zeta Gundam 2.0. And you can see how much Bandai got better in the span of 20 years. The 1/144th no grade Zeta Gundam, which came out the same year as this thing, which came out the same year as the anime, and you just see how much the transformation kind of made the portions a bit chunkier on the deluxe figure. The 1/144 figure of the Shogoken that came out in the early 2000s. And here it is next to arguably the definitive Zeta Gundam, at least in action figure form, the Metal Robot Ferret's Zeta Gundam Ka signature, which is in 1/144th scale. And here it is to the 1/144th scale high grade L-Guy Mark II, because the Zeta has always kind of reminded me of this mecha. Overall, this is a pretty good Zeta Gundam toy, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're a diehard Zeta fan like I am, since it is my favorite mobile suit and favorite mech design of all time. This figure isn't all that cheap in the aftermarket, especially the fact that it only ever came out in Japan, like most things from Gundam did in the 80s. And because of that, you can easily be paying up to triple digits for this figure, and I really don't think it's really all that worth it unless you're really a diehard Zeta Gundam fan like I am. Because you can just get, you want on 100 scale Zeta Gundam, I think that the Master Grade Zeta 2.0 would be a better option. So yeah, that concludes the review. So let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comment section. Let me know on what I could improve on in the future. And let me know if I forgot to point something out during the course of the review. Anyways, have fun, and I'll see you guys in my next review. Take care.